Hello and welcome back to Waz's Workshop. Today I'm working on a bit of a project that's coming out of a lesson that I'm learning the hard way with this project I've got working on over here. This is just a little entryway credenza table thing that I wanted to throw together as sort of a reintroduction to fine woodworking, because it's been a few years since I've really made anything of any note that turns out nice. And I am running into some significant problems with my sanding, probably due to my own mistakes. But what's happening is I'm getting these really bad pigtails, that's what I've been told they've been called, on my surfaces that really tend to pop out after I put the stain on. So I sanded this thing down, stained it once, saw the pigtails, got angry, and spent a considerable amount of time sanding it back down, and I just put on another layer of stain, and lo and behold, I've got more pigtails. So I've done some research on the issue. The tool I've been using for sanding is just this 18-volt Makita Orbital Sander, because it just fits with the rest of the ecosystem that I have, because I have had a Makita drill driver and circular saw for many years, so this is what I picked up. What I've read is there's a number of things that could be causing it. Number one is moving too fast across the surface, jumping between grits too aggressively, having stuff stuck on the surface of the paper and wadding up into little balls, using poor quality sandpaper and having the grit break off, and then when you switch to a lower grit, it's still there, and then it just gets rubbed around and causes this. And number one, they said, could be airflow and the removal of dust. So if you don't have the surface very clean between sanding passes, then you can run into these problems. So I've been trying to go very slow, stepping incrementally between grits, only jumping 40 grit at a time, and being very methodical with wiping the surface, and somehow I keep winding up with this problem. What I was fighting a lot with sanding this down after the first step was the sandpaper gumming up like almost immediately, and I'm guessing that was because of either the stain in the wood or the pre-stain conditioner, maybe something that I put on the surface that just gums the paper up. So that might be more of a problem just for this, as I'm already sanding something that I've already stained, but hopefully in the future, sanding something that has nothing on it will go a little bit better. But dust control has been a problem, and extraction of dust is also a big problem. So what I'm going to do is make an attachment for this to connect to my shop vac, so hopefully that can aid with dust control. So the stock system that this Makita sander comes with is basically a bag, goes onto this attachment that just kind of press fits onto here. So I could make something that goes straight onto this, I don't even know what you call this connection, but there's nothing for it to stick to. So what I'm thinking I'll do is basically just reverse engineer this attachment piece and then make this end where the hose can connect from the shop vac, and then this can just interact with the pre-existing part, and this can still slide on here. So I'm not reinventing the wheel too much, and hopefully it will stay on pretty well. So I'm using just standard shop vac that I've had for almost a decade now. I'm pretty sure this hose nozzle diameter is pretty standard. So if anyone wants to use this for themselves when I'm done, I will put the files in MakerWorld as per usual. But I'm going to jump over to the computer now, do the design, do the print, and then we'll come back when it's done to see if it makes any difference. So I will see you back in the office. Okay, I'm back here now in Bamboo Studio. We've got the adapter part all modeled up. I'm liking how it looks. I think I've managed to recreate this geometry pretty well. I'm gonna print it out of ABS just because I want it to be a little bit stronger, and I've just got a roll I'm trying to burn up, so we're gonna switch it to that, and then layer strength wise, I'm gonna go just extra draft because I don't really care about how it's gonna look. It's more performance. 2 walls should be fine, and then I'm just gonna leave everything alone. I'm gonna go adaptive layer heights just for some of the smaller features. And then let's see how this looks after the slice. So it's only 25 grams of material. It seems a little low to me, but that seems fine. I'm just a little worried about the little tab, but yeah, I guess that's gonna be 100% solid, so it should be fine. So yeah, I'm gonna let this print, and then I'll touch base when it's done, and we can give it a test and see if it makes any difference to my sanding struggles. So I will see you guys when that is finished. Hey guys, welcome back. Just gotten this piece fresh off the printer. Turned out pretty well. There seemed to be a bit of a layer shift right there. You can just barely see it. It didn't really seem to affect the part in the end. It only seemed to really go on like half of the radius, which is kind of strange. The first print actually failed, and that was due to not having enough surface contact on the bed, which is pretty classic with ABS. So the second one, I just added a brim to it, and that seemed to work out, with the exception of this weird little layer shift. But it made a usable part. It's solid. I'm happy. Good enough for me. So it connects into the stock piece from the Makita sander pretty well. You can see the tab slide in there just the way I want it. This guy slides onto the sander, and then my hose just goes right into the back of that. So here we have the finished product. I did a little bit of testing with it. I'm slightly concerned that having this hose trailing while I'm trying to work is going to be kind of annoying. Especially like if I'm working on a vertical surface here, this hose is just going to be in the way. So I'm already thinking I might come up with a workaround. So my first thought is to either make a little cart for the vacuum to go on that has an attachment point with more hose, which might be something I do for a larger dust collection system in the future. But the other idea I had was basically attaching a little mount block to this work surface I have here that the vacuum can attach to, and then having a separate hose that I can trim to whatever length I want that actually attaches to the table, and maybe putting this at an angle. So then I'm not actually fighting gravity with the hose because it's just going to be right here on the table, and with enough slack, it shouldn't pull as much in my head. So I have ordered some hose on Amazon, and I'm going to make those adjustments, I think, next. But I don't know if that's really going to make much of a difference for the performance. So my concern with this system is this is a really small hole to try to pull vacuum through. So with fluid dynamics, which air is a fluid, the more you constrain the nozzle, of course, the less pressure you're getting from a consistent motor. So we're getting way more suction from this larger nozzle size than we would from this smaller one. So when I was sanding, it didn't really seem to be making much of a difference. That might be just because of the stain and the stuff on the surface already, which is prone to gumming up the sandpaper as is. But I am curious to see how it works on something unsanded. So I've got some 120 grit on right now, and I'll just do a quick demo to show you kind of how it works, and we'll see if it makes any difference. So with the vacuum running, I can hear the suction coming through these holes. So right off the bat, my sandpaper is staying reasonably clean. Before even just sanding that little section, would have already started clumping on the paper. And there's a lot less dust being left on the surface. So like before I could wipe my hand and that would be just covered in sawdust. And there's not much dropping on the table. So I know that was a very short demo, but I do think it does make a difference. So I'm gonna count this as a win. I think I might include the modifications to a separate video because I have already been wanting to work on a dust collection system with table saw, chop saw, sanders, that sort of thing, where everything has its own attachment point that I print off, and then I have this vacuum attached to sort of a manifold of sorts where all my hoses go to, and I have little valves for it. It's something I think I want to do. So I think we're going to save that modification for the future, but for now, I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I'll again post this to Maker World because the whole point of this is to share what I'm making and hopefully make it useful for somebody else who might need something similar. So yeah, if you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like and subscribe because I'm just going to continue to do stuff like this, and yeah, I hope to see you guys in a further video. I will see you later.